Okay guys, so today's video is going to be about some Avengers Infinity War possible spoilers. Now I say possible because as always you can never confirm any of these that are coming out there, but a lot of these do sound like stuff that we all expect or know about the movie. So whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt, but know that this could potentially be spoiling the movie that is coming out for you as part of the Phase 3 initiative. So getting right into the thick of things, it says that the studio originally planned for one big movie. Now this is of course referencing Disney and Marvel, and they say that they wanted that big movie to be divided into two parts. Think Lord of the Rings, think The Hobbit. Essentially you write one story and you end it on a cliffhanger, and then the movie picks up right where the last one left off. There's no giant time jump or anything like that. But this says that the Russo brothers, of course, are Joe Russo and Anthony Russo, the directors of Captain America Civil War and Captain America The Winter Soldier, preferred a standalone movie to complete, each story arc individually so that each movie can stand by itself. Now, this one, honestly, I believe 100%. When you set out there and you want to make one movie, you should make one movie. You shouldn't leave threads hanging that are going to be major plot points or things like that. And mainly for the reason that if you make two movies, and let's say the first Avengers Infinity War could have bombed, it gets like a 50 on Rotten Tomatoes or something, that is going to be a huge impact on how you market the sequel, how people perceive the sequel, and just its overall standing among the pantheon of comic book movies, specifically the Marvel ones they've put out there. You really want to be careful how you tread on that. And I'm not saying the movie's going to be bad or get a bad score, but you have to think of that in mind, because the studio always aims to produce the best movie possible, and their final product, they believe, is the best that it can be. And you never know how the critics are going to react. When we look at some of their previous work, a lot of people thought the Civil War was going to be a disjointed mess and wasn't going to make any sense because of other indicators from other movies. And well, you look at that product, and it's one of the highest rated comic book movies of all time. So honestly, I think this one is 100% valid, and I think this is exactly what happened. Now, this next one says that Avengers Infinity War will center on the Avengers trying to prevent Thanos from assembling the Infinity Gauntlet. He arrives on Earth to reclaim the Mind Stone from Vision and the Time Stone from Doctor Strange, leading to vicious battle. Now, this one could be yay or nay, depending on how you look at it. Obviously, the first one I think has to involve Thanos coming to Earth in some way, shape, or form, because we already know that the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to make an appearance. Now, when you think about it, Thanos has to assemble all of them, so he has to make his way to Earth, and he's already stood up out of his chair finally and said, fine, I'll do it myself, toss the gauntlet on. So that makes sense. Vision having the Mind Stone, yes. Could he be one of the casualties? I think so. Time Stone from Doctor Strange, this could also be a thing. Now, the interesting thing that they don't mention here is that the fact that they said that we already know that Black Panther is a direct lead-in. They already said Black Panther is going to be a major part. Like they said that the ending of Black Panther is going to be a direct lead-in into Avengers Infinity War. So it kind of stand to reason with me that I think somewhere in here that Black Panther would have to have a role in this, overall thing. Maybe it's Black Panther has one of the stones. Maybe, who the hell, maybe Vision ends up and hides in Wakanda after, because they know they're after him. They can hide him with their technology or something like that. We don't really know yet. But I think it's interesting that this doesn't make a mention of Black Panther when we know that he's going to be a major part going forward. Now, this next one says the Avengers will still be fractured as the movie begins, and will have to learn how to work together to stop Thanos. This is another, I think, obvious one. There's no way they reconnect the Avengers off screen. I mean, that's just not the way you do it. So the most obvious way is you have two sets of Avengers. You're going to have Tony Stark's Avengers, which of course him, Spider-Man, Vision, War Machine, and then you're going to have the opposite Avengers. You're going to have Captain America, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, and whoever else they might get to join. Black Panther is obviously on their team too, since he's hiding Bucky Barnes, and depending on what happens in his movie, maybe the Winter Soldier will be awake, maybe they'll have a couple more members, we don't really know. But It's one of these things where this has to be the most obvious way you take this. I mean, there's no way you don't take it that way. Just think of how not satisfying the conclusion of Civil War would be if the next movie starts and you're like, oh, they're already Avengers? Well, can I get that movie that tells me why they're friends again? And maybe they explore that a little bit in some of the other movies. You know, maybe Black Panther has an appearance of Iron Man trying to recruit him. He's like, listen, I just wanted Winter Soldier, and I didn't get him, so get out of here. Maybe Spider-Man's like, well, you convinced me to fight on your side, but I never knew what they were fighting for, and now if I sign these accords that you're keeping me off of, they're gonna know my identity? That don't work, Tony. So I really want to see that, so I hope they explore that in the other movies. Next up, it says the heroes that we expect to see in the movie are Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. Plus, the Guardians of the Galaxy will arrive to help in the third act of the movie. Now, obviously this makes a lot of sense. You're going to have all the big Avengers we've gotten so far, plus you're adding Black Panther, and you're adding Doctor Strange, which we know are the beginning of two giant franchises that are going to spawn trilogies and crossovers and everything down the road for Phase 4. Now, obviously, the Guardians of the Galaxy to arrive to help in the third act of the movie makes a lot of sense. They're going to be like, whoa, that guy, the purple-faced man who just sits in the chair, he's attacking Earth? That's kind of our responsibility, because maybe he already stole the stone when we weren't paying attention in Guardians 2. So let's go help our, fellow heroes on Earth. Now, I think it's interesting to note that nowhere in here did I see Spider-Man listed. Now, I'm assuming that this is just an assumption, but Spider-Man Homecoming is going to be huge. And if they're defending the Earth, you would think at some point they're going to be in New York and Spider-Man's going to have to be there, or some of the other more street-level characters are going to have to make an appearance, being like, So, remember how the Avengers incident happened with New York? It's kind of like that, except worse, because there's this guy who's literally going to be able to bend reality if he gets all these stones. He'll be able to wipe us from existence like we were never born. So you'd kind of want to get everybody on the same page to fight him. That's just my idea. Maybe this isn't the full list they're listing here, obviously, but I guess we'll find out. Now, this next one says the Vision will be destroyed early on and the Mind Stone will be taken. Like I've said, from the time we first saw Vision, like the moment he was conceived to be in the MCU, I said, alright, he's going to be a casualty. Now, it's one of these things where I think they're making us feel a connection to Vision, but it's not a big one. Like, we like the character, we see him appear in all this, we see what he's doing, but he hasn't really gotten that, he doesn't have his own movie franchise. He's just an additional character who's appeared in 2 movies so far. So his total screen time has been maybe 30 minutes combined with the battle. So when you really think about that, he can be a casualty, and he could be the one that makes Wanda go loose, that she just goes completely loses her mind, and she goes, alright, I don't know how to control this anymore. Anybody I get attached to, I end up losing. And maybe that's a giant focal point of the movie, and maybe Doctor Strange has to teach her how to use her powers. And since he's a magician, she has magical powers, that would make a lot of sense. He takes her under his tutelage to be like, okay, I'll help you out with this, how to control your emotions, how to cope with this, how to not let your powers take over you. And when you really think of Vision, he does seem like he was only added to Avengers Age of Ultron at the last minute, so they could set up his character arc down the road, so he is taken away. So I believe this one 100%. Now, this next one says that Carol Danvers, aka Miss Marvel / Captain Marvel, is introduced in the movie as a soldier helping the Avengers fend off Thanos' attack. Now, I believe this one again, I believe in the deepest part of my heart that they're going to retroactively make Captain Marvel completely different. They're going to keep her character the same, but her origin and everything is being changed 110%. And how I would do this is, obviously, you got to keep to the core aspects of the character. So you got to keep her in the military and all that, and doing her attack, but her, her origin's got to be changed. Maybe he is going to attack with the Kree, and maybe she does get her powers from one of them, or maybe she's in some sort of accident. But we're definitely going to get Carol Danvers introduced in this movie. We know, because that's why they cast Brie Larson so early on. So this one is totally believable, and there's no way that they don't introduce her, because she's going to be a major player, and I definitely think she's going to have some sort of display of power before her own movie happens. Next up, it says the movie will end making it appear as if Thanos has been defeated, where he hasn't. He'll return with a full-powered Infinity Gauntlet in Avengers 4. Production focusing all of the Earth's heroes who join forces to stop him. So this one's a little hard to judge on. First, it does have to look like, I think they look, they gotta feel like they defeated him, or maybe he is left standing victorious. But the problem with that is we have movies coming out before Avengers 4, so these movies would even have to be taking place before Avengers 3, or they have to take place while all this destruction is happening. So there's no way they leave it on a cliffhanger, I feel. So they definitely have to defeat him at some point. Or maybe they quote-unquote defeat him and he runs off of Earth, and that's about it. We're like, oh, where did he go? But this also says, he's going to have a full-powered gauntlet in the 4th Avengers. Now, I think this one has to happen. If he's going to have half of it for the 3rd movie, the stakes for the 4th movie should be that he's so high powered that they're like, we literally need every single able body out there. Hey, Sky, Quake, whatever you want to call yourself, we need you. Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, you can swing a flaming chain. We need you. Daredevil, use your sonar, stand on this building, but we need you. Guardians, we need all of you. That makes a lot of sense, and I think you would want to save that for Avengers 4. And in my heart, I feel that Avengers 4 is going to be Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Like, that's going to be the subtitle, because we will see everybody. Like, this is going to be the culmination, the celebration, the victory lap of finishing off the Avengers movies and giving us this giant universe that everybody joked about, and literally even Disney said this is never going to work to Kevin Feige, and he stood his foot and they changed Hollywood. So I feel like that this is probably correct, and when we see that one frame with on top of a building or on top of Avengers Tower, and we see every single Avenger and street level character and Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Cloak and Dagger and the Runaways, it's going to be a sight to behold. Next up, it says Loki will feature in both movies as Thanos' advisor while secretly conspiring against him. Now, Loki's an interesting character because he's had this huge story arc that takes him from this innocent, mischievous guy to this guy who feels betrayed and feels like he never lives up because he's adopted, to this villain who gets betrayed again because he just cannot, see how things are displayed in front of him. He's a little naive, yet he's very intelligent. So I would really like it if they actually did flip that on its side. Maybe towards the end of Thor 3, he turns up being a good guy, and he's like, whoa, if Thanos gets this man, he is going to wipe everything from existence. I need to help you guys, so I'll be an advisor to him, but I'll be double-crossing him. And I think that would be a really good turn of events, in the way to take the character, because maybe the rest of Earth doesn't trust him. They're like, whoa, last time we saw you, man, you've been trying to destroy everything. Now you're telling us to trust you? And Thor's like, listen, guys, he's a reformed person. Now, whether they stick to that or not would be pretty interesting to see, but I think that's a great way to take the character. Next up, it says Thanos will have a large army, the Deviants, to battle the Avengers. Now, I could believe this one. There's no way Thanos does everything by himself. That's just not a smart idea. And it's totally believable that he's going to send some sort of wave before he ends up rolling off through his chair, through some trans-dimensional warp or ship that's going to come down to Earth, or whatever he ends up coming down to Earth with. So I 100% believe this one. Now, this one says that Scarlet Witch will be pivotal to Thanos' defeat. This is another one I believe. Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful characters they currently have, if not the most powerful, right next to Vision. So when you think about it, like I said, there is no way that Vision can survive without having that. So at some point, the stone is going to have to be ripped off from his head, and he's probably dying. Thus leading us to Scarlet Witch losing control and letting loose her powers, and probably just becoming very emotionally unstable and you know, completely like bending reality, maybe even, because she is powerful enough to be able to cause this. And maybe Stephen Strange helps her out, like I said. So I believe this one, there's no way that they don't use her if, you know, Vision is destroyed. Now, apparently, the current titles going on is to Avengers 4 is the Thanos Imperative, Thanos War, and Infinity Crusade. Now, all of these sound like they could be plausible. You know, the problem is, though, if Thanos is quote-unquote defeated in the third movie, then you give off that he's kind of alive just by the nature of the title. So if any of these were real, I would say Infinity Crusade. And I would say probably that's the best one, because Crusade sounds like, oh man, this dude's not gonna stop. He's on a crusade, you know, he's insane. He's that insane. So that's definitely the one I would say you probably end up going with. And I like these titles. They're pretty good. And last but not least, it says Infinity War and its sequel conclude pretty much all the overarching stories from the MCU, all the way back to Iron Man, while planting seeds for a new status quo that will inform the next batch of movies. This is, I think, a no-brainer, really, when you think about it. This is, and the Russo brothers have said, the culmination of everything that started with Iron Man 1 that's going to pay off. And starting Avengers 4, it's going to be an all-new, like, that's going to be their swan song. After that, Phase 4 and everything, that's an all-new MCU. You know, we're going to be getting the third Ant-Man movie, the third Guardians movie. By that point, probably Black Panther 2, Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man 2, Captain Marvel 2, Inhumans. There's going to be very little room to bring back an Iron Man or Captain America that's not, you know, feeling like, oh, this is long overdue. Like, everybody I talk to, and this is including me, who's a giant fan of these characters, I say, I want another Captain America movie, but I don't need another Captain America movie. You know, a lot of these characters, you don't want them to overstay their welcome, I feel, because that's a big problem in Hollywood. You can get one character that prints money, and they just keep putting them into movies and keeps printing money, and he starts being a diminishing return. Look at Spider-Man, you know, look at Batman. These characters are making less money every time they appear in something, because people want a new direction. They want new characters, and I feel that this is the smartest way to take it. So that's definitely, I think, 100% correct. I think that's definitely what's going to happen, and I absolutely cannot wait. So you guys can let me know your thoughts on all this down below. I know there's a lot, but, you know, there's a lot of good stuff in here that I think is going to be true.